Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'll wait for some people to get on here. KBK Real Talk. Mm-hmm.
Hey, how you doing? This is Dr. Ted Sutton. I'm actually going to be talking on KBK Real Talk. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania right now, and we're going to talk about some different issues. I'm going to get a chance to share about some of the things that I do and the whole nine. So tune in. People just coming on too.
All right. So, hey, Frank. Waiting for Brandy and Paco and everybody to get on. Let me turn this volume down. So I'm about to let me share this. So, all right. Wait, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to do this. Hey. All right. There. So I have the thing up so I can see the comments. What?
The thing went in my head again, and I turned around and I saw it, so I ran across and I spit my water on the kitchen.
Okay. It's all right. Clean the water up. I'll be up at 10, okay?
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. Sorry it took us so long to get started. We have a small little group today. So today I have with me Dr. Ted Sutton, and I'm just going to hand it over to him, and he can tell you all about who he is, what he does. I know some of you don't get to see the actual live video happen, so when you play this back, make sure you Google him, look him up. The things that he's doing is wonderful, but I'm gonna let him tell you. So, welcome, Dr. Sutton.
Thank you. I appreciate it. First, thank you for allowing me to be here on today, and I just want to.
No, it's we always have because of the background noise, but that's
okay.
why we call it real talk because it's real life.
I guess it's real life. So
yeah.
This is just what you call it. It is what it is, And I guess for me, to have any venue to be able to share, I guess what I'm doing is cool for me. I'm Dr. Ted Sutton, but if anybody ever Googles Crazy Ted Sutton, my face is going to come up. Because I was one of the younger people when they wrote a series called The Wire on HBO in Baltimore, Maryland. And it turns out that was actually one of the things that I was a part of. At one time, my godfather was a man named Little Melvin Williams, the man from American Gangster, and and I got caught up in a lot of stuff in Baltimore. So even having my father, who was an organizer for Dr. King and became a pastor, and my mother, who actually was an organizer for Medgar Evers the same summer he was assassinated. I was their middle child that got hooked up with one of the roughest groups on the East Coast. And not to glorify the street life, but more to show a point of reference of how far that I feel God brought this person right here. And so with that being, said, I had my own experience in the Mitchell Courthouse building when they were offering me 15 years for something I didn't do,
Mm.
and I ended up receiving a miracle. And they had pretty much put down that I've been arrested for racketeering, loan sharking, handgun, assault with a handgun, and I ended up actually looking at time and for something I didn't do, and they ended up actually dismissing those charges on me, and that was God gave me a miracle. But when the judge said, I hope I don't see you like this again, I said, you will never see me like this again. And I went out and got my bachelor's and master's and doctorate degree, started transitional housing for young men to get out of gangs, independent living program for young men aging out of foster care, recording studio for young people. And then I started going around the world really helping, whoever, I could. And I started going after the people that most people didn't want to deal with.
Mm.
And so that was pretty much some of it, as far as that. Became a consultant for the show Law and Order Special Victims Unit. I ended up writing 2 books, one Temporarily Insane, another one called From Pain to Power, and just trying to make a difference, out there. So that is kind of like and that's the small version, the short version of, some of my journey, per se, to be able to be here, be alive, to do what I'm doing now. It's just amazing.
Mm-hmm. So what is it that you would say is your biggest passion right now?
I would definitely say that for me, my biggest passion would be to try to get the message out and to really reach the ones that I feel that don't have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
I find that some of our youth, people, some of them have given up on.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are just saying, just lock them up and throw away the key. But I become to me, a walking testimony, about the ones who uh, may have made, some mistakes or some challenges and different things in the past. It's something to be able to do that and to still make a difference.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So, what advice would you have for young guys that are out there right now who may come across this video that are in the streets thinking that they have no way out?
One is that I always say that if you can look down and see your chest going up and down, if you can see that you are still inhaling and exhaling right now,
Mm-hmm.
as far as I'm concerned, that there's still a chance for change, and people have to know that people can change.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as long as we don't give up hope, because see, when you take away hope from a person, you create the perfect criminal, and that's a person with nothing to lose. And we have to be, I would say, a testament of what can happen or how things can change. And, for me to have had a principal that placed a bet that I wouldn't make it to 21, to have a counselor who said that I shouldn't attempt to go to college. I ended up actually being the keynote speaker at the same school where all of these things were said about me. So if that's the possibility for that to happen, I think that we can, come together and still do something.
Mm-hmm. So at what point in your life did you decide that being in the street was what you didn't want to do anymore?
Well, I didn't have one event to happen. I think that when you're hard, only something harder can break you.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, but the good thing about it, when you're broken, there's more pieces to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I ended up having, my godfather got 35 years. My 2 of my guys received life plus 20. One of my guys was gunned down, in front of me. He was paralyzed from the neck down. And I'm saying all these things, and it may seem like fast, or I'm saying all of these things, and it may seem, just to kind of put it out there and share some of the information. but these were very devastating events to happen.
Mhm.
And but I still found myself able to just kind of keep moving and to keep going, in the whole nine.
Mhm.
And so those were definitely, some of the things that we were doing. So for me, everything just changed. So it wasn't one event. So the court situation wasn't just the event, but losing my mentor, my best friend, having another friend testify against me, losing,
Wow.
my girlfriend, and to have all of these different things happen, I knew that there had to be a better way, out there, and I knew that I was personally ready to for something different to happen, for something to change,
Mhm.
and I knew at that time that the time was now.
Mhm. Was it hard for you to make that change? Like, was it hard for you to leave what you know so many years of your life being like alone? Like, was it difficult to switch?
Well, actually, it actually may have been a little hard. The problem was that um, I wasn't really sure what change looked like,
Mm-hmm.
because it seemed like I had been crazy Ted. That's the label that they gave me, for so long that if I wasn't crazy Ted, I didn't know who I was.
Mm.
Um, so it wasn't just a situation of just stop hanging around this guy or don't go to this place. It really was me taking everything. If I was to move to California, if I was to move to Florida, if I was to go to Chicago, you still going as Crazy Ted.
Right.
So when do you stop believing in who the streets said that you were and start believing in who you were really supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was one of the things that I had to really, figure out was, that it's time for us to come together and say, I'm tired of that life. And so it was only until I got sick and tired of being sick and tired of being who the streets wanted me to
Mm-hmm.
be was the only way that I was going to really, kind of like make that change, per se, as far as that.
Okay. So you guys, y'all already know how we do. You got questions, post them. I believe that the cast members that aren't here today are watching. So if you guys have questions as well, post, share the video. We will be glad to answer your questions. I'm going to keep talking to Dr. Sutton. So just so y'all know, I'm picking these questions off the fly in my head. Like, I don't have them written down. This is not scripted. This is all real time. So, you guys got any questions, post them, please. He's here, so he ain't afraid to answer the questions. Okay. So if you had, we know your target audience is young men in the inner city neighborhoods, because I grew up in the inner city and I've seen a lot of things. I'm not going to get detailed in that, but I've seen a lot. I've been exposed to a lot. What is the one thing that you think in today's society is the biggest thing that is keeping our young men from, or young kids? I can't even just say men anymore. It's our young men and women from leaving that and doing better for themselves. Because I know a lot of them feel, and just from hearing some of them speak, that they feel like, oh, nobody cares about me. Nobody's there for me. Nobody's here to help me. I don't know who to go to for help. What would you have to say about that? Like, what would you have to say about that?
For me, I would say that one of the things is that when you take away hope from a person, you create the perfect criminal, and that's a person with nothing to lose. And I think that in today's society, you have a lot of people that it seems like they've proven that they can kill, they've proven that they can die, what they haven't proven is that they can live. You know,
Wow, I
and
like
so,
that.
you know, I want them to prove to me that you can live. You know,
Yeah.
because I mean, I've actually seen guys go to court, you know, wearing a white t-shirt, pants hanging down, and everything. I'm just
Bad
like, what are
moves.
you doing, man? I'm like, look, I will buy you a belt. I will go to the thrift store and get you a dress, you know, some dress
Right.
pants, some khakis or something. But you go to court like you want to go to jail, like you're preparing to go to jail. You know what I'm saying? I want you to get out of that mind frame. You know, stop going to court like have already lost. And
Right.
it's the same way when they go to a job interview. So you go to a job interview, pants hanging down, shirt out, talking that yummy stuff.
Yeah, I mean.
And, you know what I'm saying? You know, I mean. And so, but for me, you went to not get the job.
Right.
And some of it is a level of fear because they feel if I get the job, I'm going to have to produce from that point on.
Right.
And we have to be able to show, you know what I'm saying, that there is something different, you know, other than what society says that our youth are about and different things. And that's even with our young women. I work with young women and I work with grown men. It's just that my target has been after the ones who have really been in our issue, you know, an issue for our society and our communities, you know, saying has been, you know, the black male, you know, out there in the streets.
So a question from one of our viewers, and he's actually part of our cast. He said, from your experiences, what type of lessons can you teach our youth so they may not go down the same road?
Well, that's a good question because one is I always feel that I don't want to glorify the lifestyle because I wouldn't want somebody to even think that they could attempt to do what I went through. Because if I had to actually choose, you know, what I do it now, knowing what I know now, I probably would definitely not want to go through, you know, some of those things, watching, you know, my girlfriend die, watching my best friend die, watching my mentor get life plus 20.
Wow.
I mean, some of my guys get life plus 20, watching my mentor get 35 years, you know, with the feds. You know, it's no way that I would want anybody to go through that. In fact, it's something that was so profound, you know, that like my mentor, when he told me, and I asked him, I said, you know, little Melvin, you know, I said, I wanted to know. I said, well, if you've owned, you know, some major cars, you were the first one to have, you know what I'm saying, a Maserati, and, you know, in Baltimore, you know, you were doing different things, you know, but I asked him, I said, having all of these experiences, would you do it over again? And he said, well, I'm gonna answer it like this. He said, when your house is being raided and your daughter is holding on to your leg, saying, please don't take them away. And after that, you know, she says, you know, he said, but when you come home, that's when you're leaving. But when you come home, she's graduating. You're just in time to watch her graduate from Clark University.
Wow.
You know, when he said that statement, that really meant, you know, something to me because it was just so profound that he was saying there's no amount of money that could compensate you for the not being able to be there for the funeral of a loved one.
Right.
The not being able to protect your daughter when someone is harming her, and to not being able to be there to be able to be what a man is supposed to be, a provider and a protector.
Wow.
You know, and so I just really shared the story to show a point of reference of how far I've come. But I try to show them different ways, and what we're going to need is wraparound services for our communities, because part of the problem is that, you know, like one person will say, well, I think my program will fix them, and another, oh, my program will fix them. The problem is we're going to need the village to come together, because it wasn't one thing to break them, so it's not going to be one thing to fix them.
Right.
So we have to, you know, think along those lines.
Another question, same person. Sometimes in Pittsburgh, being black, you are guilty before proven innocent. Do you believe there is any way a black man in Pittsburgh can get a fair shake the same as a white man does in court?
I mean, well, one is that we have to see, like I tell some of my guys, how are you a criminal and you don't know the law? You know, meaning that, like to give an example, I was in Philly and I told I was speaking to a group of young men and I said, well, look, let's play $5 grab. He said, okay. Then so he pulled out $5. And when he pulled out the $5, and I just grabbed it and I put it in my pocket. And he said, well, Mr.
What was the name of that game?
That's called $5 grab.
$5 grab. I'm playing that with the
grab.
next person that I see.
But this is, well, let me share what happened with that. So I started talking, you know, finishing doing my presentation, and the guy said, well, Mr. Ted, when we gonna play the game? I said, we just played the game. I said, and then I stopped and I said, never play a game you don't know the rules.
Right.
And so what you are doing is you are playing a game that you don't know the rules,
right.
and you can't be a slow learner. So, you know, you're talking about, you know, a situation, you know, like that. So we have to educate our children. We have to, it's like I just tell some of my guys, I'm like, don't try not to get locked up on Friday night. You might not get out till Monday. Try not to get locked up in an election year because they try to make an example out of us. You know what I'm saying? So you get locked up in an election year, it's just that, you know, and it's a game that's kind of played, you know, so they just try to give you less time, but they'll give you, you know what I'm saying, but they want the conviction. You know what I'm saying? But that extra conviction could be a third, you know, conviction, and that could actually give you more time than you could ever imagine. So, you know, to answer that question, I do think that we can get a level of justice, but until we come out and get some of our community to vote for them, get judges, get some lawyers, we have to be a part of the system. We can't knock the system and then complain about it, and then we're not a part of trying to change the system.
Right.
We have to be a part of changing the system in it, because as it is now, no, we cannot get a fair shake. But I don't want to just sit around and complain about it. What I want to do is get out there, get our people in. We need more seats. We need more people to be council people. We need to be more congressmen. We need people that know the plight of being what it is to be of color and to be in a low income area where we don't have as many resources as other areas, and to get a fair shake.
Okay.
So.
That's fair.
Yeah, right.
So I've watched your Facebook page, and I see you marching a lot around the streets of Baltimore. What are you marching for, and who do you march with? Okay.
Well, to say what we're marching for, we're not actually marching to to make a point as much as it is we are marching with resources.
Okay.
So we have got sick and tired of being sick and tired of just complaining about something. And so we've had real men to get together. And when I say that, meaning not somebody for a photo shoot, not somebody that's just coming out, you know, because they want to be seen or something of that nature. You know, we have asked for, you know, so brothers from the Nation of Islam, brothers from, you know, some pastors and bishops, and I'm actually the founder of Men Against Murder myself. I brought my men out, and we all came together as leaders to bring some men together. And we've had, you know, 200 and at times, you know, 250, you know, men marching. But we weren't just marching the streets just to be seen.
Right.
We got together a number that if there's a beef in the streets, you can call the number. So we would hand the number out, you know, and people can squash it. We also had the one that I like is that they actually had a person that would follow us in a car. And if we ran into somebody that wanted to go into drug treatment, they would take them straight from there to drug treatment.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? We also, in the couple of weeks that we have marched, we've gotten over 85 men jobs, you know what I'm saying, and in different areas. So to me, you know, we try to give out the resources and different things. We do the expungement, you know what I'm saying, and finding out different things. So to me, you know, to be able to make a difference and come together, I think that that's a major, you know, contribution to the type of work that we're going to have to do, meaning to actually take it to the streets. A lot of pastors are having church and it's going to be in church, but when do they come out of the church to actually engage the people who are actually going through some of the things? Because everybody's not going to come to church.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just like when you say, well, college is not for everybody. Well, maybe, you know, some people are not comfortable coming to church yet. So how do we expect, like I told a pastor that was in Chester, he said, well, I want you to take over, show my members how to do exactly what you do. And I said, well, Pastor, I'm not sure if I can do that. And he said, well, what's your edge? And I said, well, this is the thing. And I said, when you see them guys with the tattoos down their face, the rag hanging out their pocket, you know, and all this and that, I said, when you look at them, you see that they're prepared to die for what they believe in. I said, the problem comes is when they look back at you, they see you're not. And I said, so how are you prepared to let them die for what's wrong if we're not prepared to die for what's right? Right. And so, you know, so what I was saying is letting them know that we are going to have to change some ways that we're doing. In fact, a whole series I've been teaching on is your success starts where your comfort zone ends. So we're going to have to get to a point where we do this until it gets uncomfortable to really do.
Wow. I think I love what you're doing, providing resources in the community, because that's what they need. Do you see yourself doing that in other cities, or do you already do it in other cities, or like, is that something that you're willing to consider?
Oh, I'm definitely considering that, because what happened was that I saw the power of even social media, because as people saw us marching, I actually had men that came out on some of those nights in the rain, came out in bad weather. And what they said is, they said, man, I saw you on somebody else's page, but I saw that it was you. And I wanted to come out and be a part of this movement. So it's not just a march. We are trying to create a movement that is going to be consistent, you know, that is going to be something that is going to actually be effective. People should really be tired of just yelling with a sign saying, y'all doing me wrong. You know what I'm saying? At some point, we're going to have to be marching with something in our hand to give to the people as we are asking them to put something away.
Right. Nice. Question from a viewer. Why do you blacks in Pitt? What? Wait.
I've been waiting for this.
Why do blacks in Pittsburgh are more outraged? Why do you think blacks in Pittsburgh are more outraged when a black person is killed by a cop, or a white person, but don't have the same energy when a black is killed in the hood by another black person?
Well, first and foremost, for me personally, nobody has the right to be taking nobody's life. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, and that's just how that is. I mean, you know, there's a level of pain that's out there that people have not dealt with that makes it easier for people to feel that it's okay to take a life. It's not okay. No. You know what I'm saying? So that's number one. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying it's right on any side. The difference, though, is that you have to understand that hurt people hurt people.
That's right. So
why is it, you know, they talk about, you know, black on black crime, but when it's white on white crime, they don't say white on white crime. They were just, you know, in a certain neighborhood. Right. You know what I'm saying? So they don't say that. They don't say it's Korean on Korean crime. Yeah. It's, you know what I'm saying, Japanese on Japanese crime. You know what I'm saying? So but they will always go back to black on black, you know, crime. And I don't agree with that. The real deal is that the difference, though, is that it's a difference between the person that has taken an oath to protect and serve. That's the main difference right there. You know what I'm saying? So for little Pookie that's out there and has been hungry and don't have his father's incarcerated, mother is on drugs. He's trying to find how he's going to feed a brother and sister at home. No resources. you know what I'm saying, teachers are overwhelmed in the schools, so they're not able to always identify, you know what I'm saying, with households that don't have all the resources. And so, you know, how can we blame the patient for being hurt and for doing making some mistakes when they haven't had a blueprint on how to do it the right way? So even people that are saying I'm here to help you, the majority of them will say pull your pants up and just get a job, but they don't tell you how to get a job. They don't tell you what direction to get a job. So you're telling a person to go get a job, for some of them who never even may have used a computer, you know what I'm saying, you know, as far as different things. And then now with certain jobs, you can only apply by the computer. So, you know, and then you have some people, you haven't said, you know what, brother, let me buy you some interview clothes. Let me sit down and go through the computer with you and see how I can help you get a job. So what I would say is that it should be a level of outrage for everybody that loses their life. The difference is, though, for a person who is supposed to have all of the training, that's supposed to have all of the education, who has a job and has taken a job, who is supposed to be protecting you and serving you, you should not lose your life because you had a tail light out. You know what I'm saying? You should not lose your life because you and your girlfriend had a problem and they came up on a domestic, you know, dispute type of situation and you lost your life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because if that's what you're saying, that means that nobody that are officers, judges, or that's even on that side have family members that have taillights out, or have family members that may be arguing with their wife or their girlfriend. So, you know, so what we have to do is, the difference is the level of rage is probably always going to appear to be higher because people feel that there should be a higher standard for somebody that's actually in the community to protect and serve.
Okay. So we have another question.
Oh, snap.
But he's not from Pittsburgh. He's actually from Baltimore, Maryland. But the question is, would you consider running for a political office? It says here in Pittsburgh, but you don't live there. So,
well, yes, I have been asked that question a number of times, and to be honest with you, you know, I would love if I could just purchase a piece of property, you know, and stay there for 6 months and to just try to make things different. But to be real honest with you, I would love to assist someone in getting the message out, you know, about change and about how we can make a difference, you know, out here. I would love to be part of the engagement, you know, with that. Because that's what it's really going to take. Because you have dedicated people here, you know, saying that we may not always see, you know, doing the right thing, right. You know, saying, or you know, we have to really come together and see that there are some good people here that want to see change, that want to see something different. I mean, you know, I think that it's something that was so crazy. My daughter actually, her teacher, you know, told her, she said, I was reading about your dad, you know, she said, I hear that he had stopped a mother from mugging somebody. He stopped a carjacker from carjacking somebody. She said, you know, he works with gang members. He's taking homeless people into his own home. And then she said, you know, and she even ran into a burning building and saved a little girl who was on fire. And so she said, so I want to ask you, she said, is your father a policeman or a fireman? And I loved her response because her response said, she said, no, ma'am. She said, he's just a man. And the reason it was so significant is because society has lowered the standard of what a man looks like so much that when you finally see a real man, he looks like a Superman. But he's really not a Superman. He is a man being a man. And so if we could really empower some of the people that we know are doing the groundwork right here, you know, I would love to assist to see a good person with some integrity that's not considering taking all the money, that's not trying to be a poverty pimp or a culture vulture, saying people who have just become opportunists on a bad situation in our communities. I would love to support somebody with some integrity that would say that I'm going to fight for, my community, even till it hurts. I would love to.
Okay.
But thank you for even considering me to run for office. I greatly appreciate it.
So what I'm charging our viewers that are watching right now, tag, and I'll do it myself. I'll reach out to him. I'll put them in connection with each other. But Ed Gainey, community activist, Iota G. Young, Aya, Brother Blue, Rashad Birdsong. I know a lot of people in the community. My grandmother was a big community staple. Like, she did a lot of work for the community, Olivia Doswell. So, I watched her. I learned from her. I miss her to death, but I ain't ready to fill her shoes yet. So we're going to lighten it up a little bit. So tell us about your beautiful children.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's funny because I really, marvel and I feel the work that they do and everything. And so Caleb is 8 years old, and he actually plays the drums. He is a green belt in Tendo martial arts. He also is, he can sing and different things of that nature. My son Jeremiah, he is 12. He plays the bass guitar. He's a chef. He has his own line, that he puts out as far as cakes and different things that he does as far as different dishes. It's called Jeremiah's Creations. Chef Jeremiah's Creations. And he also is a yellow belt in Tendo martial arts, and he's also a yellow belt in Taekwondo. And he's also in Project Praise, and he is in a number of plays that he participates in. And my daughter Genesis, who is taking kickboxing, and she is also written and produced a CD. She plays the keyboard, the viola, the saxophone. She's auditioned at the Apollo. She also auditioned at the show The Voice, and she's been in a number of plays. One of them called In the Tune that has gone around, in different places and different things of that nature. So I'm very proud, of my children, and also, it's good to know that I'm playing a part in using, teaching my children to kind of point them as arrows at the world, to make a difference. So, I told them that sometimes, it's not about walking in the darkness. It's about being the light as you are walking into the darkness. So that's, it's just like I said, that's just some of it, as far as with that. And a lot of times they actually encourage me when I'm down, and different things of that nature,
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. So I hear you come from a very rich background in your family.
Yes.
Your parents work with some, or were connected to some very prominent figures in Black history.
Oh yeah.
How did that mold you into the person you are now?
Oh wow. Well, it's really wild because my family is rooted even in the NFL. My uncles were the Selman brothers that was for Tampa Bay, and they played there, and one of them was inducted into the Hall of Fame. My mother's first cousins are the Williams brothers, the famous gospel singers out of Jackson, Mississippi. My father was an organizer for Dr. King, at Sutton and Grambling University. My mother worked for Medgar Evers. I had an uncle that was a Black Panther, the Bunchy Carter in California. And so I come from, I would say, a rich, freedom fighting and talented family.
Yes.
But the problem is that, for me, when my parents moved from Louisiana to Philadelphia to Baltimore, and I was born, I realized something, and it was that, and that was at the time I felt adults couldn't protect me. So we have to be able to see certain situations through the eyes and the lenses of a child as opposed to how we see. So as my good parents were going to their good jobs, saying they couldn't protect me on the way to school, they couldn't protect me on the way home from school, and they couldn't even protect me on the in school. So when I saw only two students, and that was the one who was the predator and the one that was the prey, I ended up actually choosing to be the predator as opposed to the person who was getting stuffed in the locker who didn't look comfortable. And so it wasn't that I wanted to be a predator. It was just that what I didn't want to be was a victim. And so, that was pretty much just some of it. So, but I understand the train up a child, scripture, because the difference between some of my friends that I hooked up with and that I was in the streets with is that when I actually got sick and tired of being crazy Ted, I had something to come back to. And that was actually a major piece, to it. So I was able to change because I had some support and I had a blueprint of what change looked like, with my father being, a very strong, conscious, black man. I had something that some of my friends actually did not have.
And with your background, with your experiences, what kind of parent has that made you?
Oh man, I would say that I never say, you ever become a perfect parent. What you can be is a parent constantly learning, constantly understanding that. And sometimes you have 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth. So sometimes you should do twice as much watching and listening than you do talking. So, we may have to listen to our children sometimes so we can hear what's really happening. So we can really, see, saying what's the best course of action for certain situations. So for me, I thank God to have the opportunity to be a parent. I used to say that with some of the parents I see out here, some of them should have to fill out applications to be a parent. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
And I mean, because if you had to fill out an application, and some of them should have the application denied. Application denied. You know what I'm saying? Because so I look at that and I see that to be something that's very significant. We have to be able to let our children know that we are not perfect. And we may not have all of the answers, but we're going to do our best to try to make sure that you see a healthy environment. And so, and once we start, being real with them and letting them know that, we have made some mistakes and that, we're not perfect, because sometimes, children will ask questions that we don't feel comfortable, really answering, but the real deal is that sometimes we don't know the answer. Well, sweetie, come on, let's sit down. We might get on the computer. We might have to Google, because, our parents, as we were getting older, it may be work that they didn't know how to do.
Right.
And so you might get fussed at, saying, well, you didn't just, you must not have been listening in class, And it's like, I don't know how to do this. This is that Common Core math, and this is something different. Saying, well, for some reason you don't know it. And so, if we would just check out our own ways of just not being perfect, and say that, well, I'm not perfect, son. But I'm going to do the best that I can to see how I can be there for you and try to make your situation so you don't have to go through some of the things that I went through. And I think that, to me, to acknowledge that you are not perfect makes you the best parent in the world, because it makes you one that's just being real in a real life situation.
Okay. I had to listen to that for myself. Like, Okay. So I know you have written books. Tell us a little bit about the books that you've written and what information we can find in there. You don't have to give it all away because you want to get the books.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what we'll learn about Dr. Sutton and these books that you've written.
Okay. Well, people can even look up hashtag Dr. Ted Sutton, or they can just look up drtedsutton.com or suttonhousevision.com. And a lot of it will take you to some of my publications and different things. One of them is a DVD called Urban Youth in the United States, and that features, some video footage that was taken, by me pretty much, going all around, the country and dealing with some of the issues. So, because we found that some of our youth were dealing with some of the same issues in Chicago and Florida. Some of them were dealing with some of the issues in Philly. We're dealing in California, some Mississippi, and different places all over. And so, that's, one. And I talk about some ways that we can try to, address those issues. Also, I have a publication. It's called Temporarily Insane, and a very unique title. Saying which
I think a lot of us have been there.
Yeah. But Temporarily Insane is definitely focusing, on dealing with how we can have discussions with our youth. Because part of the problem is that, a lot of our youth, they end up making certain mistakes. One is because they don't have people to go to when they're making a decision about one way or the other. And we need to get to them before the decision is made. See, I can help you after you have gone on the run or after you may have taken a life. The problem is I can never bring the life back. But if you can call me before you pull the trigger, then we actually are being proactive as opposed to being reactive. And that's really how we have to really address, this kind of situation that we're dealing with, right now. Another one is called From Pain to Power. Now, that's actually more of kind of like my journey as a PK, which my father was a pastor and uncles, bishops, and different things of that nature. But I was that middle child that ended up going from one end to the other. And I'll share with you now, I'm still not perfect, but I feel that I am definitely a work in progress, And so, for me, that's one of the things. And also there's a movie being done on my life now. It's called All of a Sudden, like my last name Sutton. And there's also, I've been working as a consultant for the show Law and Order Special Victims Unit. So I've just had the opportunity that I feel some of my friends have not had that. So I think that I have to use it to the utmost to really make a difference, and not just to, let's say, line my own pocket or to just have self gratification, but to really reach some young people and some even some adults. I end up having to teach a lot of adults, how to just be better adults.
Right.
And so I would love to, continue to do that. But those are some of the things, and so just like I said, and even on Instagram, you can look me up as hashtag Dr. Ted Sutton. And and just any way that you would like for me to participate in some positive events or whatever you have, please reach out to me. I'm down.
Okay. And they can find your books on that website as well?
Yes, they should be able to find that, on there.
Okay. All right. Just a reminder, guys, we're about to wrap it up on here. So if you guys got questions, please post them. If you don't catch this live and you have a question for Dr. Sutton, you can inbox it to us. I will be glad to forward it to him. But I'm going to ask him a few more questions, and then we're going to end it because we have dinner to get to. So, what is one significant realization after everything that you've been through that made you look back and be, for lack of better words, grateful for your experiences?
Wow. Man, I've had so many situations, you know.
Mm.
But one thing is that it made me realize that it's bad to not be blessed, but it's worse to be blessed and not know you're blessed.
Mm.
And I think that, you know, for me, that was a major, you know, piece. And what I have actually realized with me saving the girl in the house fire, with me stopping the carjacking, with me stopping the mother, and with me actually intervening as I've had people that called me and was saying I'm getting ready to kill somebody, but I was able to talk them down and give them, in fact, actually I had a number out that was called 7 minutes. And I actually had, I was like, call this number. And if you have a beef, if you think you may take somebody's life, if you think you may lose a life, call this number. It was called 7 minutes. But it was saying, give me 7 minutes to talk to you.
Mm.
And if you do, I guarantee you that I can find a reason for you to live.
Wow.
And so I would try to do that. And so one of the things is that I found that with the right words in the right place, you could change the trajectory of what was going to happen in somebody's life. So for me, that is very significant that we can have that kind of power. And so many people have that kind of power, but they don't know they have that kind of power of influence to be able to say, brother, put the gun down, to be able to say, man, that beef ain't worth it, to be able to say, man, don't put your hands on him like that, you know, and the whole nine. So that's how that is.
Yes, yes.
Diana won't check the lasagna.
Okay, I'm coming.
Thank you.
All right, so last question, and this is light. This is a light one. Tell us something that we don't know about you that we wouldn't find in your book. Something that you just, you know.
Oh man. Well, one thing is that I will say this, you know, I mean, I have my sons and I love them, but it was something about when I had, you know, my daughter, when she was born, I did two things, and I picked her up and I said, God, you know, how could something this beautiful come from me? That was the one. The second thing I said is that if I've ever hurt any woman before in the past, please forgive me. And but it wasn't about trying to show off or anybody else. This was just between, you know, me and God, and just to be thankful and to now understand that I had made some mistakes in the past, and I had probably thought certain things was being cool or being hardcore, nice, and everything else, you know. And so to see it from the side of now, any woman that I may have dealt with in the past was actually somebody's daughter. And if they loved them like the way that I was just holding this precious thing, you know, I wouldn't want anybody to ever mistreat her in any kind of way. And that's what I was thinking. And so are we finished? Or
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then I want to finish like this. I sit back and reminisce about some of my old days. Deep as the abyss in a lot of crazy ways. You see, I didn't used to be the goody two-shoe. I was a yo with my crew, but now I'm new, boo. But when you think about it, we didn't talk about it. Me and my crew back then, we was bout it. And I really don't know how I even made it this far when I sit back and think it's bizarre. But I guess the Lord must have been checking me. In fact, the Lord must have been blessing me to allow those bullets to go around me, so this G can see another day be. So now it's my job to get back to the community. It's like having diplomatic immunity. This evil world is nothing they can do to me. In Armageddon, you better know it's soon to be. I'm not a rapper talking about it with Versace's or Hirachis. That kind of stuff don't got me. So as a rock G, go ahead and give God props, G, before I jet G, just like a jet ski. What? And my name is Dr. Ted, Freedom Fighter Sutton, and I support that message. I'm out of here.
Thank you guys for tuning in. And remember, always, that if you can't be helpful, at least don't be hurtful. We'll see y'all Saturday. All right. Bye.
Like the power.